Before you say anything about the mustache, I'm trying something new, okay? Hello everyone, welcome back to Zoological Point, and today I am going to list and explain every single mammal tautonym. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with what a tautonym is, it is a combination of two Greek words. Tauto, meaning either same or repeating, and nym, meaning name, which you're probably familiar with: pseudonym, antonym, synonym, so on and so forth. And it is the word for when an animal's scientific name is the genus name repeated. So gorilla, gorilla, vulpes, vulpes, you'll see. Now, why this is done, I don't have the foggiest, probably for the sake of simplicity, but what I do know is that they are so annoying that scientists are strictly prohibited from using tautonyms for plants, fungi, algae, and basically anything that isn't an animal. So this is a zoology exclusive, so this is my area of expertise. So sit back, relax, and enjoy mammal tautonyms.
Alces, the moose, is the largest living member of the deer family that inhabits the northern hemisphere. In North America, they're called moose, but in Europe and Asia, they're called elk, but elk also refers to a completely different species in North America, so for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to say moose. Their most well-known attribute are their antlers. The largest antlers on record were over 210 centimeters long and weighed over 36 kilograms. Another unique part of the moose is their proboscis, which probably evolved to assist them while foraging for food underwater. In case you weren't aware, moose are excellent swimmers and have been recorded diving over 5.5 meters below the surface to find aquatic plants. It is because of this that one of their predators is the orca. Allow me to reiterate that the world's largest species of deer is frequently preyed upon by dolphins. Alces is believed to come from a Proto-Germanic word which means elk. Axis, the axis chital, or spotted deer, is a species of deer native to the grasslands of India. The name chital is derived from a Sanskrit word chitrala, which means spotted, and it is easy to see why they earned that name since they possess a spotted pelt. Chitals are the prey of choice of many hunters, including the Bengal tiger, the dhole, and the human, which is why we have introduced them to a multitude of countries like Australia, Croatia, and even the United States. So in case you're ever in central Texas and you want to look for a beautiful species of deer, there's a large population of them in the Edwards Plateau. When used in a zoological sense, axis means an Indian animal in Latin, and it was first coined by Pliny the Elder in the Encyclopedia Natural History. This is also the same book in which he describes an actual unicorn, so make of that what you will. Bison, the American bison, or, although incorrectly, buffalo, is a large species of bovine that inhabits the plains of North America. Allow me to make myself clear. Although they're sometimes called buffalo, there is a clear difference between the two. Bison belong to the subtribe Bovina, which also contains cattle, yaks, and gaur, whereas the subtribe Bubulina contains the true buffalo, like the water buffalo, the African buffalo, as well as the Anoas, which I like to call travel-sized buffalo. Bison comes from the Latin word bisont and the French word bison, which both refer to wild ox. In case you forgot, European bison are indeed a thing. Caprilis, the European or Western roe deer, is a species of deer that can be found in, get this, Europe. In case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of deer tautonyms. The word roe means spotted in Proto-Germanic, which makes a lot of sense because just like fallow and white-tailed deer, their fawns are covered from head to tail in spots which assist them in camouflage, but as they mature, they lose their pattern. Caprilis comes from the Latin words capra and olus. Capra means billy goat, whereas olus does not have a clear translation, so that's fun. Caracal. The caracal, desert lynx, or big floppa, is a wild cat that ranges from India all the way to southern Africa. They possess a very muscular build, large canines, and tufted ears, which has led to some calling them lynxes, although they are not in the same genus as lynxes, as you can infer by their genus name. But they are closely related to the beautiful African golden cat. The word caracal comes from Turkish karakulak, which means a cat with black ears. Chinchilla, the short-tailed chinchilla, is a small mountain-dwelling rodent that can be found in the Andean mountains of South America. Something I learned while doing research for this video is that both the long-tailed and the short-tailed chinchilla are classified as endangered. This is because apparently in the 1890s people enjoyed hunting them, because there is a lot of skill involved in hunting an animal that is the size of your fist, I guess. Chinchilla is a borrowed word from the indigenous people of the area, and it's either Quechua or Amara, and it simply refers to the animal itself. Chiropotes, the red-backed bearded saki, is a New World monkey that inhabits the canopies of northeastern South America. Hence the name. Both males and females have red fur on their backs and a very prominent beard. Chiropractes comes from the Greek words chiro and podes, which means hand drinker when put together, which is a reference to the technique they used for drinking, which was originally thought to be unique to members of this genus, but that is no longer the case. I guess, monkey see, monkey do. Curichitos, the black-bellied or European hamster, is a critically endangered species of rodent that inhabits Europe and is closely related to those little gremlins you see in the pet store. They are so rare because farmers mostly view them as pests and tend to exempt them from their life. Curichitos is believed to be a hybrid between the Russian word for rat, krysa, and the Czech word for hamsters, kreček. Crocuta, the laughing or spotted hyena, is a very social carnivore native to the African plains. Whenever I'm talking about hyenas, I've noticed that people tend to mistake them for dogs, so allow me to set the record straight. They're not dogs, they're not cats, they're their own thing. Their closest relatives are actually the mongoose, and they are a member of the suborder Feliformia, which means they're not true cats, but they're more closely related to cats than they are to dogs. Also, female hyenas have a massive that looks like a which they get through. Pretty neat stuff. Crocuta comes from crocodile, which is believed to be a Sanskrit word for a dog-wolf hybrid in Ethiopia, so it is believed that it is referring to hyenas. Dama, the common or European fallow deer, is a species of deer originating from Europe, but due to God knows why, has been introduced to the United States, South America, Australia, and New Zealand, so yay, more invasive species. Dama is a Latin word, which simply refers to a medium-sized ungulate, so it can be used to refer to deer, antelope, gazelles, so on and so forth. Funnily enough, there's a species of gazelle that's called the Dama gazelle, so technically it can be also called the gazelle, so that's an English tautonym. Feroculus, Kellart's long-clawed shrew, is a small endangered insectivore that can be found in Sri Lanka as well as southern India. Its common name is honoring a Sri Lankan zoologist named Edward Frederick Kellart, and this is how you spell it in Sinhala. Feroculus comes from the Latin word ferox, which means ferocious, which is probably referring to how shrews used to be viewed as a very vicious animal. Gazella, the Palestinian mountain, true, or just simply mountain gazelle, is a small species of antelope that inhabits the Middle East. Something interesting about them is that they're one of the few mammals where both the males and females have horns. Scientifically speaking, they're extremely horny. Gazella comes from the Arabic word ghazel, and it means exactly what you think it means. Those goobers. Genetta, the common or European genet, not genet like I thought it was for the past decade of my life, is a small nocturnal viverrid native to northern Africa and Europe. In case you're unfamiliar with some of the coolest carnivores on the planet, viverids consist of the genets and the civets, which are basically the illegitimate love child of a cat and a raccoon. Genetta is believed to be a combination of the ancient Greek words gen and eta, which literally translates to small bear. That's adorable. Gerbilis, the lesser Egyptian gerbil, is a species of rodent native to the Sahara. As its name would suggest, they are small, especially when you compare them to the greater Egyptian gerbil. Gerbilis comes from the Arabic word jarabu, which means, and I am 100% serious, flesh of the loins. That is gross, but it is referring to their long jumping legs, but that raises the question, why didn't they just refer to the legs? Why did they say loins? I have no idea. I'm moving on. Giraffa, the southern giraffe, is a proposed species of giraffe in southern Africa. It's worth noting that many organizations like the IUCN, as well as myself, still use the one species of giraffe with 9 subspecies classification because it's objectively better and actually makes more sense than the multiple species mumbo-jumbo that people have been talking about lately. And I apologize if you heard something in the background, that was just Linnaeus rolling over in his grave. If it hasn't been obvious, I despise the multiple giraffe species theory. Giraffa comes from an Arabic word, sirafa, which means fast walker due to their primary method of location being speed walking. Gliss, the European fat, rude, or edible dormouse, is a small species of the dormice family. Hence their frankly insulting common names, they are often quite plump, usually doubling their weight prior to hibernation, and they were eaten by the Romans as a delicacy. Well, you know what they say, when in Rome. Gillis is Latin for dormouse. Unfortunately, not every single tautonym is a cool compound word. Arguably the most iconic and recognizable on this list, gorilla, the western gorilla, is a large critically endangered species of great apes that inhabit the rainforests of western Africa. They were extremely intelligent, and many of the world's most famous gorillas were members of this species, including Snowflake, Harambe, may he rest in peace, and my personal favorite, Koko, who was able to communicate with people in sign language and once felt out Robin Williams. Gorilla was first used by Hanno the Navigator, and it comes from an ancient Greek word, gorillae, which means, and once again I am not joking, tribe of hairy women. As a man, I offer no further comment at this moment. Gulo, the wolverine, carcajou, or quick hatch apparently, is not an immortal short Canadian with a metallic skeleton, but rather a large member of the weasel family known for their hearty temper and seemingly insatiable appetite. They are very successful hunters as they are able to take down prey as large as a bison, so I would choose to stay on their good side. Go blue. Gulo is a Latin word which means glutton, so gulo directly translates to gluttonous glutton. Halak, the western halak gibbon, is a species of arboreal primate native to the rainforests of southeastern Asia. They're the only species of ape native to India after the Gigantopithecus went extinct during the middle of the Pleistocene. Oh, and people too. The forearms of the gibbon are twice as long as their body, so whenever they walk on the ground, they have to do this awkward little splay with their hands, and I find it adorable. The word hulak is borrowed from enemies, holo, which refers to an extinct Indo-Aryan language. On par with the laziness of bison and gorilla, hyena, the striped hyena, is the second smallest species of hyena, or third biggest depending on how you look at it. One of the most interesting things about this species is that they're monogamous, meaning that they mate for life, much like puffins, seahorses, and my parents. Hyena is the ancient Greek word for, you guessed it, hyena. Indri, the indri or the babakota is the largest species of lemur alive today. They are very unique even for the standards of Malagasy mammals, as they are extremely vocal and they're the only mammal other than humans that naturally understand rhythm. Like our previously mentioned hyenas, they also mate for life. In Madagascar mythology, there were once two brothers who lived out in the jungle. One moved out to cultivate farmland and became the first human, while the other brother stayed in the wilderness and became the first Indri. In all honesty, this is probably one of my favorite stories of human creation, and may actually surpass the Dayak story of the drunk hornbill gods. That's probably the weirdest thing I've ever said. Indri comes from the Malagasy word which refers to the species, Indrina. Lagoris, the steppe lemming or vole, is a small species of lemming that inhabits the Russian grasslands, although some fossilized remains have been found throughout Europe. I don't think we should go looking too closely at those remains, after all. We don't want to make a mountain out of a lemming hole. That sucked. I apologize. I believe that Lagoris is derived from the Latin word for lago, which is hair, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering that lemmings are not lagomorphs. Speaking of lemmings, lemmus, the Norwegian or Norway lemming, is one of the most common species of lemming. Contrary to popular belief, lemmings don't commit mass suicide. That was actually a myth created when Walt Disney released a quote-unquote documentary called White Wilderness and decided that it would be neat to herd a bunch of lemmings off a cliff into the Arctic Ocean. Thanks, Disney! Lemmus is just the Latin word for lemming, so. Moving on. Lutra, the common or Eurasian river otter, is a semi-aquatic member of the weasel family. It is the most widespread of the otters found in Europe, Asia, and northern Africa. Similarly to the river otters in North America, these otters can inhabit fresh, salt, and brackish water. Lutra is believed to stem from the Latin words lupus and ludo, which respectively translate to wolf and playful. Further merit is added since people in Middle Ages used to refer to them as water wolves. Lynx, the Eurasian lynx, is a medium-sized wildcat that ranges from Scandinavia to Siberia. Similarly to their fellow lynx, they possess tufted ears, a bobbed tail, and large furry paws which allow them to walk on the surface of snow, similar to snowshoes. Lynx comes from the ancient Greek word lunx, which refers to lynx. Macrophyllum, the long-legged bat, is a leaf-nosed bat that can be found in the rainforests of Central and South America. Their common name comes from their unusually long claws, which make their legs appear much longer than they actually are. Macrophyllum comes from the Latin words macro and phyllum, which means big-leafed, which may be a reference to their ears, but then again, I'm no Heinrich Rolf Schnitz. I didn't name the damn thing. Oh, they're called leaf-nosed bats, so the leaf is referring to their... Friendly reminder, I'm a very dumb man. Moving on. Marmota, the Alpine marmot, is a large species of ground squirrel that inhabits the mountainous regions of Europe, predominantly in the Alps and the Pyrenees.
Alan!
The 15 species of marmot are the heaviest members of the squirrel family and range throughout the northern hemisphere. The first fossilized remains of marmots date back to the middle of the Miocene. Marmota comes from the Latin words murus and montanus, which literally means mountain mouse. Martes, the European baum or sweet marten, is a small member of the weasel family that is found in the temperate woodlands of Europe. Being a skilled arboreal predator, they've been successful in dealing with invasive populations of gray squirrels. Martes is just a Latin word for marten. Meles, the Eurasian or European badger, is a large burrowing member of the weasel family that ranges from the Iberian Peninsula to the northern Caucasus. Unlike other species of badgers, the European is a highly social species and have been documented living in groups of up to 20 individuals. These groups inhabit very large, well-designed burrows, and in case you're wondering how intricate a burrow can be, they have designated bathrooms. Just like Martes, Meles is just the Latin word for badger. Mephetis, the striped skunk, is a black and white skunk species native to North America. If you've ever visited the United States, or you're familiar with pop culture's most accurate depiction of a Frenchman, you'll know two things about skunks. One, they smell, and two, they smell really, really bad. Similarly to their relatives, the stink badgers, their primary defense mechanism is spraying a repugnant odor, which oddly smells like cannabis. Mephitis was actually the name of a Samnite goddess. In case you're unfamiliar with Samnium, it was a region in southern Italy that existed for a few centuries until Rome ate it, and she was the goddess of toxic fumes, and it's also the career held by my ex-wife. Heyo! Molossus, the velvety free-tailed or Pallas massive bat, is a little brown bat, not to be confused with the species commonly called the little brown bat, that is found from Argentina to Mexico and even up into the Florida Keys. Free-tailed bats get their name from the fact that, unlike typical bats, only the base of their tail is connected to the uroptegium, that piece of skin that connects the hind limbs to its entire tail. Molossus means from Molossia in Latin, which is a western region of Greece, and the bats in this genus are named after an extinct shepherd dog from that part of Europe. Every single species in this genus is endemic to the Neotropics, so I have no idea why they decided to name them this. Let's just move on. Monachus, the Mediterranean monk seal, is an endangered species of seal that is found in the Mediterranean Sea, as well as the Western Sahara. It is typically considered to be the world's rarest pinniped. As of 2015, there are only around 700 left in the wild. These monk seals can only be found in 3 locations: Ras Nabadou, the Madeiran archipelago, and the Aegean Sea. Monachus is the Latin word for monk, since these seals have a fold of skin around their neck that somewhat resembles a monk's robes. Oh boy. Mops, the Malayan free-tailed bat, is a species of bat that lives in both Indonesia and Malaysia. This species only has a Wikipedia article that is a sentence long, and I've already talked about why free-tailed bats are called free-tailed bats, so here is a video of an octopus punching a fish. After hours of research in both books and the internet, I could not find a solid answer as to why they're called mops or a meaning behind the word mops, but I do have a theory. In Deutsch, mops means pug, so if you squint a bit, I guess they kind of do look like a pug. I guess. Moving on. Myospalax, the Siberian zoochore, is a species of rodent that is native to the steppes of Kazakhstan and Russia. Just like the Malayan free-tailed bat, since the Wikipedia entry is only a sentence long and my investigative journalism skills rival that of a bush baby on LSD, I will be talking about zoochores in general. Zoochores are Asian rodents that have convergently evolved alongside African mole rats, although they are more closely related to bamboo rats. They first evolved during the Miocene and are found throughout the grasslands of northern and central Asia. I regret to inform you all that I could not find any meaning on the word Myospalax either, other than the fact that Myo means mouse in Greek. I know Spalax is a genus of blind mole rat, and they are in the same family, so maybe Myospalax are simply smaller than Spalax. I don't know, I'm just guessing. I apologize to any of you who are fans of blind mole rats. Myotis, the greater mouse-eared bat, or Myotis, is a small species of insectivorous bat that inhabits the European continent and can occasionally be found in the Middle East. Despite the maximum weight of only 45 grams and a wingspan of 40 centimeters, they're among the largest bats in Europe, which makes sense because Europe has no native megabat species. As previously stated, Myo is Greek for mouse, slap OUS at the end, and boom, you've got a word that means mouse-eared. Nesua, the South American or ring-tailed coati, is a member of the raccoon family that ranges from Colombia to northern Argentina. Unlike their burglar relatives, coatis are diurnal and live on both the ground and in the trees of tropical rainforests, in large social groups called bands. I couldn't find an exact definition for nasua, so my apologies, but what I do know is that coati is derived from tupi, and it means belt nose. If I had to wager a guess, nasua sounds somewhat like nasal, so it may be referring to their noses. Niviventor, the Himalayan niviventor or white-bellied rat, is a small rat that is native to the Alpine and montane regions of Central Asia. White-bellied rats are endemic to Southeastern Asia and are yet another example of the biodiversity of rodents. From what I was able to determine about an animal who has a sentence-long Wikipedia entry, niviventor comes from the Latin words nivi, meaning snow, and ventus, meaning blower. That's one weird-looking snowblower. Oreotragus, the klipspringer, or klipbok, is a small species of nocturnal antelope that lives in eastern and southern Africa. The klipspringer is unique among antelope by its unorthodox hooves, which allow them to easily climb up rocky outcrops, kind of like goats, but they don't wear heels like the klipspringer does. It's worth pointing out that much like the word dolphin, antelope is a blanket term that is used to refer to animals in the same family that are not necessarily closely related. If you want to greatly damage your brain's frontal lobe, look into how bovids are classified. Oreotragus comes from ancient Greek and means mountain goat, which explains the similar genus name of the mountain goat Oreomus, which means mountain sheep. Personally, I feel like I would be upset if it was reversed either way, since neither of them are goats or sheep. Klipspringers are in their own subfamily and are most closely related to duikers, whereas mountain goats are closely related to takin, as well as an animal we'll see later on in this video. Papio, the Guinea or savanna baboon, is a species of old-world monkey that can be found in dry forests and savannas of western Africa. Baboons are sexually dimorphic, with males possessing larger bodies, canines, and, posteriors, or as I like to call them, babooties. Other than their voluptuous backsides, baboons are also known for their bite, which can exceed more than 500 psi. That's about 5 times stronger than the average human. Baboons are among the largest of the Old World monkeys, but the Guinea baboon is the smallest member of their genus. While they are not exactly as large as the chacmo or the olive, they can exceed 25 kilograms, so they aren't exactly tiny. Papio is the Latin word for baboon, and the word baboon comes from French baboin, which means muzzled. Pederista, the common or red giant flying squirrel, is a large species of squirrel that inhabits the tropical rainforests of Southeast Asia. While they are cute, they are liars and are not to be trusted, since, like many non-avian animals with flying in their name, they are not able to utilize power of flight and are only able to glide. Not saying that isn't impressive, just dishonest. Unlike other gliding mammals, like the colugo or the sugar glider, the patagium of flying squirrels is attached to their wrists rather than their elbows. As someone who grew up in the Midwest, when I think of flying squirrels, I think of the species that I could see in my backyard, but there are over 50 of them around the world, and only 3 are found in North America while the rest are in Asia. Giant is a very apt name for this species, as they can exceed 3,200 grams in weight and 60 centimeters in length. With a body that big, these gliders can soar over 450 meters through the rainforest canopy, more than twice as far as a colugo. Pterista is Latin and it directly translates to acrobat or rope dancer. Phocina, the harbor or harbor porpoise, is a small species of cetacean that, as its name suggests, is primarily found around harbors and near coastlines of the northern hemisphere. There are currently 7 living species of porpoise, and despite looking like a smaller dolphin, they're actually more closely related to belugas and narwhals. Harbor porpoises are among the smallest of the cetaceans with a maximum length just shy of 2 meters. As you'll see momentarily, when the porpoise was discovered, they didn't know what it was, as the word porpoise is a French portmanteau which literally translates to pigfish, which may be referencing their pig-like appearance, or maybe their vocalizations.
Kyle from the future here. It's the latter.
Phocina is the bastardized Latin version of a Greek word, which means big seal, so make of that what you will. Pipistrellus, the common pipistrelle, is a small vesper bat that inhabits nearly every part of the Old World, from Scandinavia to northern Africa and all the way out east into the Korean peninsula. This is the most common species of bat in Europe, which is a great thing since they are insectivores and the more bats there are, the less bugs you have. Here's a weird fact about pipistrelles. They mate in late autumn and give birth in early summer, yet they only have a gestation period of about 44 days. Now, even a renowned dingus such as myself know that those numbers don't add up, and there's a very interesting reason why. Female pipistrelles possess a chamber in which they store sperm from mating for the entirety of their hibernation, since if they gave birth in winter, there wouldn't be sufficient resources. Neat! Pipistrellus is actually an Italian word and means bat, but it was stolen from the Latin word, which literally means bird of the evening. Ah yes, I'm sorry. My bad. As a zoologist, I should know. Bats are birds. I mean, all the signs are there. Look at the feathers, look at the beak. This is clearly a bird. I apologize for including this in the mammal video. Pithica pithica, the white-faced, golden-faced, or Guianan saki, is a monochromatic diurnal primate that lives in the tropical rainforests of northeastern South America. Sakis are unique among the New World monkeys since they don't have prehensile tails, but just like their cousins, the spider and squirrel monkeys, individuals can go their entire lives without ever touching the ground, just so long as the Amazon rainforest sticks around. Pithica comes from ancient Greek and simply means monkey.
Rats, we're rats, we're the rats.
Rattus rattus, the black roof, ship, or house rat, is a very successful species of rodent that is believed to have originated in India, but is now found literally everywhere. I don't know why I'm explaining what a rat is. Literally everyone knows what a rat is. Likes cheese, trained the Ninja Turtles, once killed half of Europe, you know, those things. Rats have a bad rap, mostly because of the whole bubonic plague thing, but they are remarkably intelligent and empathetic creatures. They possess a brain that is very similar in structure to our own mushy thought generators, and that's actually the reason why they're used in experiments. If you cannot tell what rattus means in Latin, I have no hope for you. It just means rat. Redunca redunca, the boar reedbuck, is a medium-sized antelope that lives in the plains and wetlands of Central Africa. Reedbucks are a very odd antelope in terms of their social structure, since they live in between the solitary lifestyles of forest-dwelling species like the bongo, and the large families of the grassland dwellers like impalas. Reedbucks live in harems with one male and multiple females, which is rare, although not unheard of in the world of antelope. So I couldn't find an exact definition, but redunca is Latin and it translates to bent backwards, and if I had to wager a guess, I would say that's probably referring to the horns of the males, which can grow up to 35 centimeters long and bend backwards.
Hey, it's me again, Kyle from the future. I was right.
Rupicapra, the Alpine chamois, or simply just chamois, not chamois like I thought it was for my entire life, is a small species of goat antelope that can be found throughout the mountainous regions of Europe, as well as New Zealand. They were introduced to New Zealand thanks to Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria in exchange for receiving some parrots and ferns. Since New Zealand has no large terrestrial fauna, mostly because we killed them centuries ago, they had no competition and were able to grow in size from 6 to 30,000 in a few decades. Like I previously mentioned, they are goat antelopes. While they are referred to as goats, their closest relatives are taken and mountain goats. Callback! Rupicapra is Latin and it means cliff goat. Sacalamus, the naked-rumped pouched tomb bat, is a species of insectivorous microbat that inhabits southeastern Asia as well as parts of Oceania, ranging all the way from India to Queensland. They belong to the family known as sac-winged bats, which get their name from the glands on their wing, which they use to release pheromones that help in attracting mates. Hey, to each their own, I guess. The naked-rumped pouched tomb bat is unique since its sac, and by sac I mean that glandular thingy, is not located on their wings but on their throats, which somehow seems even less hygienic. Okay, so in terms of the Latin name, I got halfway figured out. Sacco is Greek and it means sack or bag, which is either referencing their pouch or the wing glands, and I have no idea what Lammaeus is derived from, and considering that my level of reading comprehension when it comes to non-English Indo-European languages is comical at best, this shall remain another of life's great mysteries. Vulpes, the red fox, is a species of fox that is red and is extremely prevalent in pop culture. In all seriousness, they are the largest member of the true foxes and naturally range across the entirety of the northern hemisphere, but have been introduced to Australia where they are considered an extremely detrimental invasive species. This goes to show how adaptable they are, as they're seemingly able to survive in nearly every ecosystem that they find themselves in. As of recording this video, 45 subspecies are currently recognized, and because I can't think of anything else to add into this video, here they all are. Scandinavian, British Columbian, Northern Alaskan, East Transcaucasian, Anatolian, Arabian, Atlas, Labrador, Barbary, Nadir, Cascade, North Caucasian, European, Transbaikal, Newfoundland, Ussuri, Turkmenian, Eastern American, Afghan, Kodiak, South Chinese, Sardinian, Cyprus, Yakuts, Japanese, Karaganka, Kenai Peninsula, Transcaucasian Montane, Wasatch Mountain, Hill, Sierra Nevada, Nile, Turkestan, Palestinian, Korean, White-footed, Northern Plains, Nova Scotia, Enzo, Iberian, Kuril Islands, Steppe, Tobolsk, and North Chinese. Give me a minute. In case you're clever and counted along with me, you may have noticed that I only listed 44 subspecies, and that's because the species dorsalis has no official common name, so I didn't know what to say. But now I've listed all of them, so ha! The word Vulpes comes from Latin. If you've seen Fantastic Mr. Fox, you know that it simply translates to fox.
And that is every single mammal tautonym. As of recording this video, thank you all so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to see a 20-year-old guy ramble on about scientific names. Let me know if you like this video down in the comments below or by leaving a like. I was thinking about doing a video like this for the bird and reptile tautonyms. And just supporting the channel by subscribing or sharing this with a friend, it goes a long way. I just want to say thank you all so much for, I think, 450 subscribers. That is a big milestone I didn't realize that I hit. And I'm going to be making more content for you all in the future. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.